And Polly, once you've read through, and feel you've absorbed everything in the Braille deal, pass it back for a little bit.
Okay, what was that you said?
Oh, I see. Once you have had a chance to read through the Braille materials, you can send it back to me for a little.
Share the book.
Share the book, okay.
Yeah.
Can everyone hear okay?
Now, I realize I
Who's
have a
on?
mask on. This is Harriet. That might be a problem. Let me know.
This is Holly. Can everyone online hear us? Oh, I see Nick's got a thumbs
Yeah.
up. Okay,
Okay, that's good.
I'm not sure if I needed to speak louder.
Oh,
All right.
I'd like to say something about the owl.
Sure.
Oh, okay, so it is difficult for me because the screen is over there, so we tend to like to look at the screen and talk to the faces on the screen, but the owl's actually here.
Correct.
So when I look at the owl, I can't also see you, so just,
Yeah,
Sort of-
so if these squares, if this Brady Bunch is not as engaging as you would like to be, I always recommend folks bring their own laptops and just join quietly if you want the faces right up in front of you.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that would be my suggestion there, but I understand that.
yeah, because then the people online think that I'm not talking to them, because I look like I'm looking elsewhere. But I'm actually looking at your faces on the screen, but when I do this,
Yeah.
then I'm actually looking at you.
Yeah. But I think everybody at home can understand if we're looking away, it doesn't necessarily mean we're not engaging directly.
And we need to get started.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. I'm just gonna go through as a roll call to make sure we have everyone present. Harriet? Here. Frank?
Here,
Brian?
Here.
Deborah?
Here.
Pauline?
Here.
Nick?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Helen?
Helen there?
Yeah.
She's there.
Helen, can you hear us?
Can we call her on the phone? I could call.
I can, she is definitely still here.
Helen, can you hear us?
oh, we can't hear her.
Okay, so.
No, she's not speaking. Oh,
She may need some support around what to push, I mean, what to click.
I hear you now, yes.
Oh,
I can hear
Were you speaking earlier because nothing was coming up on the screen? Now it is.
oh, okay,
Awesome.
great.
okay.
Sheila. Here. Ingrid, not joined us yet. Mercedes,
I'm here.
you are right next to me. And Laurie.
Here.
Okay, and I'm here. Okay, so we have all of our, oh, there's a message from Ingrid. So we have a very, as always, oh, she needs to
Shoot
send
this
her
to
the
Harriet.
link.
Okay. I will send her the link. Here you go.
Harriet.
You
Harriet,
have her
Oh.
email address?
I do.
Okay. And we have a guest. I want to first start by reading the agenda.
Before we pass roll call, has Lori been, no, okay, she's not sworn in
Soon,
soon, just need to know it for votes if in.
Good question. I'm gonna start by going through and reading the agenda, and we have a guest tonight. I don't think she'll be joining us for a little bit. Her name is Meg Bandara. Hopefully she can explain how to properly pronounce her name. We're gonna go through with reviewing some minutes. We're gonna have some updates from Adrian. Then we're gonna move on to,
here's Ingrid.
hi Ingrid.
Give her-
We're gonna spend about 20 minutes, and Meg is gonna share some. The unpaid trails advocacy group that she's a part of. We're gonna have Harriet give us an update,
Communications.
communications, and then I'm gonna go through. Some things on the bylaws, funds, minutes, and then we have some great new business. Disability Pride, talk about some training, finances, we're gonna talk about. Other project groups that we've been going. Does anyone have any questions about the agenda that I just read? Okay. I did not get the two transcripts for November and for September, so I'm gonna wait to review the minutes. Unless anyone here has reviewed the minutes and has any corrections they'd like to provide. Okay, and Adrian. Sure. You have the floor.
So you are tabling minutes, is
I'm
that what I'm
tabling
hearing?
minutes, yes.
Okay, Before we leave minutes, I wanted to bring up my email
Yes,
this evening.
would you like to talk about that now?
Yeah,
If you'd like.
Sure. So, after 4 years of being secretary and seeing that we have a very full contingent of members now, which is really nice to see. I feel it's time for me to resign from being the secretary. What I had in my email, is I'm gonna have my resignation effective at the adjournment of the April meeting. So I'm gonna take minutes today, I'll take minutes in April. And I'll follow in with both finishing off all the old minutes that we have, as well as the minutes from this meeting and next meeting. But that gives everybody time to think about nominating somebody or being nominated for, and we can have a vote next month.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna get you an egg timer that counts minutes or something. Something as a thank you gift for all of that hard work, because that's a long time and a lot of dedication, so, you know. Very much.
Sure. Through the chair, a couple of items. My name is Adrian Pomeroy. I'm the ADA coordinator with the city of Somerville. The first thing is that for the first time in the city's history, the city has been approved through the Massachusetts Office on Disability for what is known as the ADA Municipal Improvement Grant. This is a process that cities apply for. They name what they want to do with it and the amount, and then there is a selection process. We were notified at the beginning of February that the city is in receipt of around $75,000 to hire a consultant to do a select self-evaluation of city buildings, other infrastructure in the city, and then sort of help the ADA task force review the existing ADA transition plan. And this money, along with some budget from,
Is that feedback or is that another,
I am not sure.
does anyone else hear that? Or
I
is
did,
it not?
I did.
Okay.
Anybody online hear that funny noise?
Okay,
Okay.
pardon
I
the
think-
interruption, let's keep going, let's see
We'll
what
keep going.
the owl's doing.
There it goes again.
Maybe there's an
Yeah,
owl.
somebody did not,
Could it be there where it's supposed to
Yeah.
be?
No. Let's just try again. The caveat to this is that we were actually notified about a month later than they usually do in their grant process. And we actually only have until the end of June of this year, this fiscal year, to utilize this consultant. I am working on that RFP this week to get that out. The good news is the RFP only has to be out a week or two And I've already done some pre-work in contacting potential vendors just to let them know that the bidding process will be opening.
Excuse me, what does that acronym mean?
RFP.
Request.
Request for proposals.
Okay,
So we give them a very specific scope of work. We give them a timeline and then we tell them how much we have. And then they make bids for the work. And then there will be a period where, if need be, or procurement will be able to ask some questions. But it's a very tight timeline. And I do know some other cities also feel this way. I know I did not attend last week, but it was brought up at the CODA meeting last week about the tight timeline. Interesting enough, the MOD will be opening up the grant year already for next year in May and then awarding in August of this year to give more time to cities.
And the COD is the Commission on Disabilities. It's all of the various cities and towns that get together every month and share ideas. That's what Adrian means, when she says the COD, and the MOD is the Mass Office on Disabilities, so.
Yeah.
Alphabet soup.
Yes. It is not decided yet if the city will apply again for more funding in the new grant cycle. Mostly because it is likely that we would not get awarded 2 years in a row. It took 6 years to get the first award. Unfortunately, there's not enough money to go around. I think I did see in the minutes from the COD meeting, that several commissions had applied this year and not gotten it. So that's not to say we certainly won't give it a try, but it will be on top of trying to finish the work from this grant. So but I am asking DPW and capital projects if there's anything coming down their pipeline for fiscal year 25 that money could help with. Because then the more specific you can get, that will be helpful. As soon as I have an update on that consultant, I certainly will share that information out. So that is a nice segue into the ADA Transition Plan Task Force, which is my next item. So back at beginning of the year, we sent out an application to recruit 6 additional constituents to serve alongside city staff and this commission, overseen by me in my role for the ADA Transition Plan Task Force. The current city's ADA Transition Plan is quite dated and quite dense and quite long, and it is dire need of a revision. And so we wanted to recruit these folks to get a different perspective and help them assist in this work. We are getting close to figuring out who those folks are. And in the spirit of equity, the Department of Racial and Social Justice does pay its task force members because we believe their time is valuable and they should be paid. And so when it was talked about, I of course brought up the participation of this commission. And so right now you all are in your capacity as commissioners, volunteers. By way of conflict of interest, you are considered what are known as special municipal employees. And so first, we have to ask if you want to serve on the task force because it is outside of your responsibilities of being a commissioner. There will be an additional 2 meetings a month, which will vary in time from 60 to 90 minutes with other people. And myself, the rest of the staff of RSJ, and the mayor's office felt very strongly that if anybody from the commission wanted to participate and had the capacity to participate, that they should also be compensated. I'm happy to tell you that that is possible. Our chief of staff and our legal team are kind of working on that. But what that will take is probably some paperwork and a check off and a sign off from city council to approve that. So what I need, not only from you all in this room, but the folks at home joining us and you don't have to tell me now, but probably in the next week or two. If you are interested in serving and being compensated and have the capacity, I need to know that because we need to start gathering names and information to get that process with city council going. Again, you are not obligated. If you feel you want to participate and not get paid, that of course is up to you. But that is your decision. Yes, Harriet.
So you said 2 meetings each month
Mhm.
for the next year and it
Next 6 months.
next 6 months.
Yeah.
And it would be 2-hour meetings, 1-hour meeting, hybrid.
The
hybrid
max
meeting?
would probably be 90 minutes just for processing and capacity issues. More than likely, they would probably be hybrid meetings. We would aim to try to get most folks in person if they're comfortable and that's accessible to them. Of course, if that is not accessible to folks, we will make accommodations for them to be hybrid. But conversations like this are gonna be really detailed and a lot of things to review. So we hope folks can attend in person. If not, of course, we will make that accessible if that's not possible.
And will this also be considered a public body?
No,
Ah,
the task force is not considered a public body. You would not be voting on anything. You would be working on, it's a working group, so to speak, working on recommendations. That would essentially go to RSJ, the mayor's office, and then be reported out. And it's a really unique opportunity to work with city staff, myself. This is sort of one of the biggest projects that I was told about when I was hired. So it's sort of I'm calling it my baby. I don't know if that's appropriate, but that's what we'll do. And then 6 other constituents who are very interested in this work as well. So that's what I have there. So please sort of meditate, think about that.
So 6 total, our members will be on the committee.
6 additional constituents that are not members of the commission and then are not city staff and not myself.
Are there a reserved number of commissioners that can be on?
No, so if all 12 plus our 2 associates want to serve, then we will take all 14. But in a way, I want to give people the option because I don't know what people's work schedules are and I don't know what people's incomes are. I don't know what people's personal lives are because it is above and beyond what is required of you as a commissioner.
Are they during the day?
So I am going to try to find a happy medium, probably, hopefully afternoon-ish. I am going to try my best not to do evenings because I think brain power is a little better during the day, but again, that depends on work schedules, and so we'll try to find the happy medium. The other thing is that there's sort of going to be a minimum requirement for attendance. So we know that there could be a max of 12 meetings over a 6-month period. We will certainly not require all 12 because things happen, family things, all that. So more to come on that, but we did want to especially let the commission know that they would be compensated if you choose to participate. We of course would love your participation.
Isn't this group kind of unwieldy? So many people on this committee, what would they call it, a committee or a
Task force.
task force?
So the idea is that sort of if we have all 14 and then we have the 6, so that's 20 folks. I used to teach 2nd grade. I'm not worried about unwieldy folks. And then we'll have city staff sort of being in and sort of being subject matter experts in certain things as you all look over the plan. So it's not going to be too big. It's going to be bigger than the other task forces, that's for sure. But when the city did this the first time, I think the total number of staff plus volunteers was near the 40 mark. It was quite a large group. And we're also being cognizant that we have people who are willing to do this work. And then it's also being cognizant of staff time as well, to use them, efficiently and not, take up too much time, but use that time efficiently and really have some fruitful conversations about making this plan really more accessible and more digestible. And being able, really key components are being able to report out on the plan, every year, every 2 years about progress.
Harriet, I know you had your hand raised and I think I cut you off.
No,
as you
just
started
I
as
just a
well.
couple quick ones.
Sure.
Aside from if members of this commission want to take part in
Mhm.
the task force, is this commission taking any involvement in the whole transition plan, or is that a separate assignment for this task
I
force?
understand. This is the opportunity where the commission
Okay.
would participate in that.
So the 6 members of the community, are they looking for people that have some kind of expertise or involvement, or are they just general community volunteers?
So that recruitment period closed in February. We were just looking for folks who had the time, who had an interested in accessibility and disability. I think, as you know, we have at least 6,000 or more folks in the city that identify as people with disabilities. So this is a good opportunity to get some other folks who maybe haven't done board and commission work, or maybe do other work that really sort of has an interest in this work. Yes, Harriet.
Yeah, I just wanted to say another thing for everyone's consideration is I have started to read the transition plan. I believe it was penned in 2013. It's 200 pages, I think.
400.
400 pages. So it's almost as if before this body met or before we decide to do it, it would be important to have an overview of it for ourselves individually or collectively and just take on a little bit of the idea of what's in there. And the only thing that troubles me about this task force is I would really like to have a universal design expert in there just so that we have really up-to-date information on, obviously we can't do everything all at once, but just to sort of look at the bigger long-term future, which I think is what eventually we're looking at, but just so that, transition is a very fuzzy kind of a concept. So, I started reading it and was not terribly impressed, so.
Forgive me, I'm gonna have to cut us off.
Okay,
because
done.
We have Meg starting at 7:25.
Yeah,
Certainly
sure.
we'll come back to this.
Sure.
Could you see if Meg is online or on the phone?
She is not.
Let me just double check.
If you don't mind, through the chair, I can save disability pride till the end, but I would like to talk about open meeting law really quickly. So this is sort of a point of education for all of us, and then sort of just things to keep in mind now that you all are commissioners. So one of the things that the chair looks for when we're starting a meeting is to make sure that we have quorum, which is a set number of members that have to be present in order for the meeting to start, in order to do business. So the body is currently 12 people. And so we decide on quorum. That quorum is half plus one. So quorum is 7 people. And so that means the meeting can start and business can be conducted, and you can vote on various pieces of business as they come up. With that said, while it is assumed that this is reserved for, called business of the commission, you do all need to keep in mind that as members of the commission, you need to be mindful about your conversations with each other outside of these public meetings, that you are not discussing business that has been or will be discussed within a public meeting setting, because those are public meetings and they're for the public. And that being very mindful, being very mindful of just basically 7 of you not gathering on a street corner, discussing something that has already been discussed in a meeting or future. Obviously, it seems very common sense, but you do, as commissioners, have to take it very seriously.
Yeah.
With that said, I've been sort of talking with Maddie in the clerk's office about what that looks like, sort of for these more social engagements that you all have been planning. So you all have the Red Sox game coming up in May. And that is an instance where it is fine for all of you to attend because it's a social event. And the only thing you would have to keep in mind is that you would not be discussing any business at that gathering, because it's a social event, it's not a meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I will save Disability Pride for the end of the meeting.
But I'll cut off the end if we have to share that one.
Okay, great.
Meg? Hi, I'm Holly.
Hello.
Nice
Hi,
to-
Holly.
This is everybody. This is Meg. Adrian, did Maddie want to say anything else? Or is she gonna stay in the meeting? We're very happy to have you here, Maddie. I just wanted to double check.
I think Maddie's just observing tonight.
Cool. Meg, you have the floor. If you want to introduce yourself and this advocacy opportunity that you brought to Adrian and I. We have the bill as well as some information at my own little signatures about how the trails work now. So you have the floor.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to join your meeting tonight. So I am here to talk about S.446 and
Sorry?
H.69.
Hold on 1 second, Meg.
Just the volume is a little too high.
Okay. hold on one second.
No, I think it's okay now. Let's see.
Okay. Go ahead, Meg. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, no worries. So S.446 and H.769, which is an act to expand trails to people for people of all abilities. And really what we're talking about is expanding trails to people who have disabling conditions, people who need access for things like strollers, and for our older residents of the state who may have some mobility limitations. But really, that just means trails that everybody can use. And right now in the state, we actually don't really have very many trails that everybody can use. And when you group all of those three groups together, it's a significant portion of our population. It's 33 to 47% of the population, but most of our outdoor recreation has been exclusive and not inclusive to a lot of the majority of the residents in the state. So we have about 4,000 miles of unpaved recreation trails in our state parks, but only 7.5 miles are accessible. And what accessible trails look like is really just a wide trail that allows mobility devices to be used comfortably, allows people to pass each other if they're both using a mobility aid, or if one person is and another person isn't. If somebody is using a service dog for navigation or any other reason, they can have their service dog next to them comfortably. The slope and the angle of the trail, so like how much it goes up or downhill, what it's like side to side, those things are all regulated when we're looking at building accessible trails. And accessible trails are usually also more sustainable. They're built in a way that makes them more thoughtful and last longer. So with proper attention, they remain useful for everybody for a long time, which is not the case for non-accessible trails. They're just usually kind of put in and not much thought is given to the state of them and how they age over time. So in Massachusetts, we haven't done a really great job of building these trails, but we also haven't done a really great job of making the information about existing trails available and an easy way to find it. We also haven't done a good job of looking at our system as a whole and recognizing that for a long time we've been ignoring um, the needs of everybody when it comes to being able to access nature. And we know that accessing nature helps with our health and our overall well-being and our just sense of wellness. And for people with disabling conditions, that's really important for us because we are far more likely to develop stress-related illnesses and have just a lot more stressors in our life. So being able to access nature is actually uniquely important for those of us who have disabling conditions. So what this bill would do would bring together a group of folks as a working group from all across the state. And most importantly, it would include folks who have disabling conditions, which has never happened before. And we would look at the trail system as a whole and come up with recommendations for how it can be improved. And the bill has some time limits. So basically within 3 years, we would want to see more trails and more money going to accessible trails in a measurable way, which isn't something that we've done before. So my group is just a group of volunteers, people who all have disabling conditions or recognize the importance of why we need to be inclusive with our trails. And we're just trying to raise awareness and most importantly, get support for this bill. We've gone through one hearing already with the Joint Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. They have just given us a favorable report. And we believe that it's going to go to a second committee for review. And in that second committee in the next couple of months is really where the bill is either going to get another favorable report and go to the full legislation for a vote, or it would die basically in this second committee. So in the next few months, support for this bill is really critical. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has and talk about what supporting this bill looks like for your commission and what it's looked like for other commissions.
Anyone in the room have a question they want to start with or comment? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Amushi Buembo. I'm a wheelchair user. And all along, I've not been in the US for so long, but I'm so happy that I was trying to put across the same concern about the trails, whereby like having been to some other countries and I was seeing trails that are always made evenly flat without hills. But I used to follow some trails like around Jamaica Plain, and then the famous is it called the necklace?
The gold guard green.
Yeah,
Emerald.
the emerald necklace. You find that you are following it like any other person, but you reach some areas, the terrain is not even, it has hills, things like that. And then I'm so happy that such an idea is put forward and we are looking forward to participating in it. We shall not let you down. I personally will participate in it. And even if there is a way to contribute to designs, I'll be available. I'll be available.
So are you interested in testifying and
Yes.
writing a letter?
Yeah.
That's great. Anyone
That's
else have
wonderful.
any questions before we open it up to our, oh, I see Mike has his hand up. Go ahead, Mike.
So I completely apologize, Meg, because sometimes my mind kind of wanes. This is great. How can we support you? What is it you, did you say what you were looking for? If
Not yet, no.
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, no,
good.
that's a great
Okay.
question. Yeah. So letters of support from the commission, from individuals, those are all fantastic things. Some towns have also, the commissions have gone to their city legislature, whether it's a select board or however your city governs itself or your town governs itself, and have gotten resolutions. Resolutions from the municipal government are really powerful. And basically contacting your local representative and senator and asking them to support the bill if they don't already, and thanking them for supporting it if they do already. So that's the stage that we're at right now. There won't be another hearing because we had a hearing with the first committee. The second committee, which is probably going to be Ways and Means, doesn't have to have a hearing. So contacting them with your personal stories, with a letter of support, that's going to be really important.
Yeah. Hi, through the chair. This is Harriet. No, just go on. I'll formulate it better.
Yes, Brian.
I have, this is Brian Bosway, Commissioner and Director of the city's engineering division. I have two questions for you, Meg. One is what, and I haven't read the actual text of it, but I didn't see it in the little handout that we have here. What is it that you're looking for specifically in trails to make them accessible? And an example of an answer would be to meet MAAB guidelines for sidewalks and walkways. Or maybe there is a lesser standard that you're looking for. Maybe there's a greater standard that you're looking for. That's question one. And question two is, do you have a percentage or proportion of state trails that you're looking for this to apply to? And I guess third, as I'm saying this, are you looking to revise or update MAAB guidelines and regulations so that it applies to all public facilities or just to mass state property?
Those are great questions. So the first one, US Forest Service guidelines is kind of the prevailing standard for building accessible nature trails. That's different from MAAB guidelines. And there's a difference in those guidelines because things like sidewalks are considered access routes, and they have very strict guidelines. The US Forest Service guidelines, and MAAB and just in general, AAB guidelines don't usually cover things like trails unless they're access routes to things like bathrooms or an accessible campground. US Forest Service guidelines is what dictates kind of the other nature trails that don't fall under access routes. The problem is that that's not actually a law. It's guidelines that are voluntary to adopt. And they are in US forest spaces. They are the guidelines that they have to use when they're building new trails. There are exceptions for things that can't fit into the guidelines. But everything else outside of a US forest property is just voluntary. So really what this bill would do is form the access group, the working group, with the goal of increasing access. And one of the things that working group would do would look at the guidelines, the prevailing guidelines, look at how we're adopting them, can we do better? And personally, I would love to see Massachusetts come up with their own guidelines, because I think the US Forest Service guidelines are about a decade old and they definitely need improvement and they definitely need some adjustments because we have a lot more knowledge now than we did when they were first written, and they were never meant to be like a national standard. So really what the bill would do is form the working group that would then start to tackle these specific questions. I'm sorry, what was your third question? I think I got to two.
Well, the second one was, is there a proportion of trails that you're looking to, that you believe should meet some future guideline? The third question was, would this only apply to state property or would it apply to all publicly accessible recreational trails?
Right. So this bill would only basically dictate the two state level agencies that build trails right now, which is the DCR and Fish and Wildlife. But what that has is kind of a knock-on effect when it comes to funding, because most municipalities get their funding from a state source. So if the state prioritizes accessibility and really looks at how it can help support municipalities when it comes to accessibility, we will get a lot more state and local spaces that are accessible. The portion of trails that I think should be accessible, I mean, there's nothing specific in the bill because the bill is really looking to form a working group, but I would just like us to see us approach recreation in a way that's just representative of our population. And about, a third to a half of our population has an access need. So are there properties that accessible trails won't work on? Maybe not entire properties, but certain areas. Do I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of room for education and growth about how accessible trails don't always have to be on a flat property to be flat enough to be accessible? Yes, I think there are great examples of trails that are not just in a low flat area that are very, very accessible, but we don't have enough of them for them to be widely known yet. So I think more areas can be accessible than people often realize. So that would be my take on it. I just want us to do things in a more representative way.
This is Holly. Can I just summarize that and please let me know if I'm correct? The goal is to have more. It is not a specific percentage. It's not in a specific location. It's to create a working group, a committee of people that will talk about what do we have now and then present it. And from there, look for a working plan or how do we integrate this? So it's not, we're gonna change something in the next 6 months. It's gonna be a multi-year process, which you and I both know what that's like when you get a bill passed, or even after it's passed. Would that be accurate?
That is very accurate. There are thankfully some time limits built into the bill right now. So it would be a certain amount of time. It's for the working group to get up and running within a year to make some recommendations that the DCR would have to answer to. So making some of those formal recommendations that the DCR would have to answer to is important. And then within 3 years, showing that we're starting to increase accessible trails and funding for accessible trails. But yes, you summarized it perfectly in that the goal is more, and the goal is to really find out where we have huge gaps in our system. We're likely to see that there are huge areas where there are no trails for people to access, and that's not okay,
So is this also designed that Joe Comerford would lead that working group or that task force, or is that?
So the task force would be made up of really people who have disabling conditions, trail professionals, people who are working in adaptive recreation, people who are working in the disability rights sectors. And it would come from people who are within the DCR and also representative of the entire state. So places that have DCR properties, urban and rural locations. We really want a cross section of Massachusetts to be represented at that working group.
Helen, I see your hands raised. Would you like to ask a question?
I'd like to ask. Is there is a bill before the legislature, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you give us the bill number and the name of the people who introduced the bill.
Yes. So the bill number is S.446 and H.769. There's a version in the Senate and there's a version in the House. They're exactly the same right now. And the two presenters are Senator Joe Comerford for the Senate version and Representative Michelle Chicolo for the House version. And then there are a lot of co-sponsors. I think since the presentation was made, we've added 3 co-sponsors and I can't remember all of their names off the top of my head, but there are many co-sponsors. And there is a trail caucus within our legislature, and our trail caucus is also supportive of this bill.
Thank you.
There's also 11 various disability commissions around the state that are on this, providing support. I believe
Yes,
they
and we
supported this.
Yes, and we may have more since that presentation. I believe actually we do have a few more that have signed on still. So on the unpavedtrailsforall.org website, we update the list more frequently than this presentation. So everybody who is supporting it is on the website because it's just easier and quicker to update the website more frequently than the presentation. But also we're looking for just all sorts of groups. So we're trying to get councils on aging, public health. We have recreation groups and land trusts that are supporting already, and we'd like to get more because we think the key to getting this to pass and go for a vote is just having a broad cross section. So Appalachian Mountain Club helped work on this. There's a lot of groups that have helped and are supporting this. The trustees, a land trust and kind of across the state now we have. So we've got a nice cross section, but looking for
We're a
more.
little bit over time, Harriet, but we're into your time, so
Yeah,
please
okay,
feel
so
free
I
to
just
ask.
have one quick question,
question.
or suggestion question to keep in mind. You probably could solicit any of us for beta testing of any of the trail projects. I know that's way down the road, but also my experience is the only people who could really say whether a trail or any route works are people who need to use it in that way. And I found in every city I've lived in, and I've lived in at least a dozen, and also gone through outdoor parks, it is difficult. That's all, just would love to participate in some way usefully. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. And that's absolutely why we really want to have people on the working group that are living that experience, because we have our experience and we know the areas to look for. And that's definitely, you're right, that's been a missing piece so far, for sure.
And one last question, and the group is already established, it already has meeting times and stuff like that?
So Unpaved Trails for All, we don't have like a regular meeting, but what we do is we have an email list, and like in a few weeks, we'll have an informational meeting about this next stage of the bill. So I would be happy for any of you to come to that meeting. You can send me an email and I can give you the details, because we are happy for all help and support, because we are all volunteers and we are all just trying to get things more accessible for all of us.
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
So the bill would create a committee, Harriet. if
Yeah, I
the
got
bill
it,
were
I got
passed.
it, I got it, yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time and talking with us about this. You have lots of claps online, and here in the room. I will make sure that everyone gets the documents again that you provided us. And also just specifically the link, if you'd like to subscribe to updates on this. And Meg, we wish you all the best of luck, and if things move forward and you need to speak to us again, please just reach out to Adrian or I.
All right, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to answer questions, so feel free to reach out. Thank you.
We will.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Holly, you can just keep me to 5 minutes. That's fine.
You're up now, my friend.
I know. So, it's been a busy period of time, since last month and this month, to say the least. And one of the best things that has been able to come to pass is that we have a weekly updating and conversation and discussion meeting with Adrian and Hawken, who is our PIO, did I get that right? Yeah. Public Information Officer, and anyone else that would care to join us, I suppose. But anyway, we're discussing the topics are communication, collaboration, and accessibility. And so just to work on communication, briefly to say that we're starting to form research and work on how to make our webpage very clear, very understandable, and who we are, what we do, and get ourselves rolling on our invitation to city events, like this upcoming ADA event in May, which is coming up fast. And so we're working on that. Frank and Nick will be working on looking at some of that research. And it's just been wonderful that we can get together and hear what's going on and get more information happening. And one of the things that, of course, we wanted to have in the city, which will save us a bundle of money, among other things, and make it easier and less pressure, is if we have an embosser in the city. And I had met Adrian to ask you earlier if you happen to be able to get hold of the information on the model number of the embosser.
Not yet. Not yet, Harriet.
Okay, we think it is a 120, I forget the company name. And we're happy if it is such an item. It isn't very big. It's potentially, I get these dimensions funny, but 20 inches by, would the height be 10, Frank? I think.
I think that sounds about right.
It was,
yeah.
I know it was 20 by 10 by 6.
I don't know the exact dimensions.
Yeah, so fortunately, it is not an enormous tool. And there seems to be some sort of hiccup between its placement and where it is actually physically now, no idea. But we're working on it, and I've spoken to one person in the library, and Adrian, you and I could speak to Kathy and see what's going on over there, because in reality, it really would be important to station it there. And there is some concern about its noisiness, but one of the things that we can do is we can get a cabinet to cover it. And I've seen this before in the Boston Public Library. So we're really looking forward to getting updates on that and just communicating further about that, because every page that we have brailled by Perkins is $9. And I don't know if anybody, not everybody would be aware, but the last one was probably a good 50 braille pages. So it's just something that we
At
really
least that, at least that.
At least that, maybe a bit more.
And the other thing too, excuse me, it's Pauline. When I was working at the Commission for the Blind, we had a cabinet that the machine of the embosser was placed into. It was called a quietizer, and it plugged into the cabinet and reduced the noise a lot.
Yeah, and I imagine the newer models have found ways to also do the impact that you have to do when you're making cuneiform of braille to make it even, even within its structure itself to be a quieter machine. So we're working on it. I wish I could say more about it, but apparently there's just some kind of, I'm not sure why we don't have more information, but we will get more information. And I have found the people at Perkins to be very cooperative and very helpful. Because we have found some of the formatting to be, overuse of paper as well. You don't spend a page and a half on the, web information when I don't know anybody who could type in accurately a URL. We do the cut and paste thing on the machine. So anyway, I think that's all I'm going to share right now. Holly, if you can think of some other stuff that I left out.
Could I just ask a question on that? Just for
This is Sheila.
clarification, I'm sorry, Sheila. For clarification, so the city has the embosser?
That's correct. It was actually purchased over a year ago. That's all I can tell you.
So not over a year ago, we haven't had it for a full year, so correcting that information. The original, it was purchased in June and delivered in June. And the chief of staff is working on finding the best place for it. It will probably be the library or Somerville High School. So she is talking with the schools, chief of staff, and talking with the library about the best place for it. And then once it is given its permanent location, folks such as myself, some other staff and members of this commission will be trained on it. And then we will sort of share out sort of a procedure about how someone would ask for embossing, timelines around that, which does include if something is a much larger document or a pamphlet or a booklet, that is something that would probably still have to be sent to Perkins, because we have to make sure from an equity perspective that we are delivering what we can of quality for the internal embosser. And then if something requires a higher level of expertise for formatting, that we would still utilize Perkins in those situations.
So is there like a time frame for everything to happen?
I am not sure. It's really, the chief of staff is really the one who has to figure out, especially if it ends up at the high school. That's sort of a collaboration. And the hope is at the high school, it would present also an opportunity for students who work within the print shop programs to learn as well and have that skill set. So that's personally what I'm hoping for, because I think it's a twofold thing.
You got another vote for that. I
Yeah,
think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dual purpose. Certainly there must be students at the high school now or in the future, or teachers who could use materials embossed. And they have it right there.
yes, Harry.
When you say chief of staff, you mean Hannah?
Nikki,
Oh, Nikki.
Spencer. is our
Oh, yeah,
chief of
Nikki
staff.
Spencer.
And who is the chief of staff? I didn't quite get that.
Her name is Nikki Spencer.
Okay,
Ooh, we
I'd like to
lost-
make this is Harriet, make the suggestion, could Nikki come to our next meeting, communication, accessibility?
I will double check. Nikki is often double and triple booked for her days. So
I'm sure, but with enough warning, maybe she could come for 10 minutes, you know?
I will certainly check if she's definitely, I can't check for tomorrow because that's too short of time, but maybe next week. I will open the invitation to her.
Thank you. That would be great.
Any questions?
just to. This is Pauline. Is there room in the budget, and I don't know whether this would be appropriate, for a proofreader?
You mean a staff person to proofread?
Yeah, or a person who's qualified to proofread Braille.
I can certainly, that's something definitely to talk to either RSJ or Nikki about. But that would have to be, that would depend on, I think, where the embosser would live for one, because
Okay.
the staff person, so if it lived at the school, it would have someone who would probably have to be hired through the school system. If it was at the library, then it could be hired through the city. And then,
I was gonna say you've got a proofreader right here.
right,
Looking for a job,
right.
reasonable rate,
Yes, part-time.
Yeah.
excellent skills.
So
Yeah.
Colleen, what does that person do? They just, as it's embossed, they
Um,
proof it to make sure that it's accurate.
That it's accurate, that the spelling, grammar, and all of the contractions necessary, you know, in the Braille code are correct. Because I was a professional proofreader for quite a few years, and I'll tell you what, I ran into some pretty interesting iterations of Braille that I still see a lot, you know, when I read some things from other people, if they write to me or something like that, that it's very hard for a blind person who is not proficient in Braille, if he or she gets a document, to read it adequately because they don't know the contractions aren't correct, the formatting is not correct. There's a lot that goes into it.
We've done a lot of, this is Holly, we've done a lot of format changes to the agendas.
Yeah.
That, and I think the minutes also, you know, Frank has his physical embosser, he
Mhm.
has the software, and he can take a document and like literally look at the formatting, and so we use like certain headings and certain styles. What is it, like a colon is best instead of, or is it a semicolon? One
Semicolon,
of them's my friend, semicolon's my friend.
semicolon's a friend.
Yeah,
And Ginny and I also have an embosser that if anybody,
really?
yeah, we've had it for years and we're just trying to find out now whether or not Duxbury has software that we could use to connect it to our Apple machine.
Cool. That's maybe we can talk about that outside the meeting if there's something, we can help with that. Another side I just want to add is, you know, it's not just the physical embosser and where it's located and how it works and the proofreader. But it's also working more holistically with the city on how we approach our materials. And things like we talked about plain language, simple language.
Oh, yes.
The formatting, and unless you are, you know, embossing something or you see how it comes up on the screen, you would never know how much you can change that. So you know, the messaging should not be changed, but the manner in which we communicate, you know, written, as well as things like screen readers and on the website. So there's lots of, you know, there's the figure out how we're going to emboss, but there's also, we really need to work really fast at materials being designed for embossing.
I wanted to ask something
Sure.
through you, the chairperson. I wanted to ask, how far have you also thought about a collaboration with, for example, Easter Seals? Do you know Easter Seals?
I know.
With what?
How
Easter Seals,
Easter seals.
Oh, Easter seals.
yeah.
How do you envision a collaboration?
Because I think at times they may have material and some of the items that we may need. If we work together with them, there could be a way maybe we can get some of these equipment and material that we need at a subsidized or at a subsidized fee or in a quicker way, and then also providing us with the most advanced of the technology that we may need.
I know what you're talking about now. They provide a lot of technology for all different types of communication and education, sort of as loaners, but maybe as other things.
Yeah, but because they also have like a wider projects and they always look out for people to work with. So if there is a way that we can make them to get in the know of what we are doing, I think they can add something.
I think that's a great suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
We, Harriet, anything else you need to?
Nothing comes to mind because I thank you for adding, this is Harriet, thank you for adding in that we really do have a wide range of language, so many aspects of language formatting to make ourselves in the city accessible. And we didn't even get into French and Portuguese and how that's written in Braille, but we'll get this far, we'll keep working, okay? But yeah, there's a lot of area of communication, and I have confidence that we will continue to advance ourselves in that area. So that's it for me, and again, so Holly, if you can bring me back to stuff I may have left out.
Sure. I'm gonna move on to item 6. And I have 3 items. I'm gonna take them out of order. Meeting minutes. Excuse me, which I'm going to table what we had on the agenda for November 14th and for September. The other month.
November 14th.
September 14th and November 14th. That should have been easy to remember. Only because I didn't have a chance to look at the transcripts to sort of compare the details. You know, a transcript, a transcription, closed captioning. Those are not meeting minutes. Those are not legal documents that represent meeting minutes. However, we can look at them if we'd like to check, you know, who's ever taking the minutes or someone like ourselves who would go back and actually review and approve the minutes. Strangely enough, when I spoke with Clerk Wells, she told me that, I wish Maddie was still here, that all of our members who are voting members can actually vote to approve minutes, even if they were not a member at the time. They don't have to, they can abstain from a vote, but they are. It is within the open meeting laws that all of our 7 persons here could review the minutes. So I just want to throw that out there in case, you know, because everyone here can review and vote on minute approvals, even though you weren't here. And we do have a bit of a backlog. And another thing that Clerk Wells shared with me is, and I've seen it a few times at city council meetings, they will have like a list of 10 minutes, you know, 10 different meeting minutes, and they'll say, we're going to approve these as a whole, yes, no. And what happens before that is that they receive the minutes, they are told to reply back to the chair to one person if they have any edits, and then once those are all combined, they're put to a vote. So I think that's a process we should try to follow to get through a big chunk of these, whether that be 5 next month, whether that be, you know, 10. It's going to take a lot of like heavy lifting because I'm going to have to line up the documents and get them embossed and have them in time for everyone to be able to access them.
Do you want to, so I can work on pulling together the minutes. Do you want to manage the distributing to the members?
Happy to.
And- Right. And
I have a question. Wasn't it always part of the meeting agenda to, you know, to read and approve the minutes
Yes,
of previous meetings?
it should be.
Maybe I'm off my rocker, but I thought that was what
so
was usually done.
usually it's not, usually you don't read the minutes of the previous meeting at the meeting that you're approving them.
Okay.
Each member is responsible for reviewing the minutes
Okay.
outside of the meeting.
Okay,
I didn't hear that properly. Thank you for explaining that. Typically, if possible, you review them ahead of the meeting and you vote
you
at the
voted at the
meeting.
meeting, okay,
But oftentimes we have read through them so that it's accessible for all of us at the time.
You don't
Okay.
have to,
Yeah,
there's no rule saying you can't, it's just, there's no requirement
Yeah,
to.
but the most common rule, like, some people have been doing it that way, but it doesn't save time. Like where I come from, most of the commissions that were councils and authorities, would come with the volume of minutes, and then people would read, would do this, and then after that, they would pass it, and then the clerk would. It's tedious.
Well, we're gonna find a way to get on track with all of that. I just wanted to share now, as it relates to meeting minutes, the information that the chair shared, that Clerk Wells shared, and how we're gonna move forward with these groups of materials. Next, I have the bylaws. So, I know it's your favorite, isn't it? We are gonna go back and review our bylaws again and verify with the minutes, all the things that we did and get that document updated, so we have the last version validated. And then part of that, which you was very timely and retiring your position as secretary, is that we also have an officer role for a treasurer. And I'd like to make a motion, and I think, can I also nominate as part of the motion?
Sure.
I'd like to nominate Sheila, see if she's interested in the role of treasurer, because clearly you have the relationship and the expertise with municipal finance, and the role of the treasurer really is to manage all of our reporting, finances, and all the pieces and parts that I would love for someone else to take on, and you've been doing such a great job with all of that. But I, of course, would like to open the floor up to anyone else who would be interested in being the treasurer. And if people would like some more, what does the treasurer do? I do have the official text.
But might I second it first, or shall we wait? Okay.
But I think we can have a second and, well, actually.
You only need one person. You don't need a second to nominate somebody
Okay.
for a position.
Everyone's so quiet tonight. Okay,
And you're allowed to
so,
both nominate yourself and or somebody else if you want to for any
Thank
position
you.
that's open.
but I will not be nominating myself. Or you.
One
unless
person
you want
can't
me
hold
to.
two roles.
You can't have two
you would have
Can't be
to-
secretary anymore.
Cool.
Cool. Holly, I think Helen had her hand up.
Oh, Helen, yes.
I was going to second the nomination, but I see it's already been done.
Okay, we're gonna vote by roll call. I was reading Robert's rules and open meeting law lately. Well,
no.
we're really supposed to do that in hybrid. Okay, Harriet,
Yes.
sorry, Frank, Brian,
Before we vote, the office, the nominee has to accept the nomination.
okay. Would you like?
I thought you were both on that.
They're not accepting the
I'm sorry.
I thought she'd already done that.
That's us, because I think that'd be awesome.
There's the official pen.
Yeah.
You can write the getting, pad the paper, and whatever else you would like. Brian.
Yes.
In favor, okay. Deborah,
Yes.
Pauline,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
you can vote for yourself. Yes, Sheila, yes, okay, no
Ingrid.
shame in that. Ingrid,
Yes.
Yes.
Rashid,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also, so we have a secretary. Sorry, treasurer. I'm gonna have to make a t-shirt. Okay, and, I appreciate, you staying on for another meeting, another month and two, and a process of how to, review and
Yeah.
nominate another,
Secretary.
secretary.
Yeah. I didn't want to drop this on you and like.
Drop.
There's time to, there's time to get
It's
this
all
done,
good.
yeah.
All good. Should I open up the floor if anyone is interested in becoming the secretary? Great job, you take all the minutes.
I saw a lot of no's.
You
That
gotta
was
spell it,
funny.
Brian.
Well, we can think about that.
I would swear I would do it, but I just don't think I can competently do it. I mean, I can type like mad, but I don't believe I can really do it. Unless I just,
I wonder, for associate commissioners, Frank has done the minutes quite a bit when we've needed the assistance. But we could amend our bylaws that an associate could do the minutes. I'm not sure.
I think what you'll run into though is that Frank can't vote.
No.
So that's gonna be,
He couldn't vote his own minutes, but he could take the minutes. We'll noodle that around with,
I think that's a question for the.
yeah, that's a
Clerk.
question for the clerk.
Okay.
So what I'm observing is that nobody's jumping to nominate themselves right now, and you have the privilege of some time.
we absolutely do.
So perhaps you, through the chair, tabled this discussion vote until April.
Absolutely.
and this is Harriet, may I speak?
Of course.
I feel, since I know this is a task which for most of us feels quite intense. I have a suggestion which is a bit strange. If people would consider taking a quarter year assignment, it might be a little less overwhelming. Because I think we really, if we're in the commission, we're kind of here to do this. You know what I mean? Like if we're here to meet, we're here to take notes too. So, or collaborate, have two people collaborate on being a secretary, just to make sure there's always a secretary here and also to share the weight of the process. So those are my suggestions, perhaps quarterly, or perhaps two people working together as secretary.
You have it in the minutes?
Yeah.
Per
Yeah.
suggestion of the
Yeah.
minutes in your minutes.
I was just going to acknowledge that other committees do what's called floating secretary.
Yeah.
And that's generally accepted. If I don't know what the clerk's opinion is
I don't know
on
either.
floating secretaries. The workaround for that is you have one secretary that manages a group of floating secretaries. And
Facts and
that
upon.
person just makes sure that,
We
like,
like that, huh?
assign somebody to do the minutes and then make sure it's done.
We've also talked in the past about it's very difficult for people with disabilities who are participating in the commission to also be taking those minutes. And the need, the request, I don't know if it was official with Bonnie, was to have a scribe provided or a person who did that role. So unless anyone wants to, I'll up my bid to 2 pens. If you want to think about it for next month. Maybe some chocolate bars, I don't know, basket of fruit.
Let's be careful with bribery.
Oh, no. That's a resident showing up at their door and dropping off a bag of oranges. Everybody's gonna get a bag of oranges, all good. Okay, and maybe it'll be a potluck orange party, Mike, to talk about that. Okay, so I will get some information and report back on that. Bylaws, minutes, funds, okay, so, you've been doing a lot of research and work and efforts.
You're speaking to Sheila now?
I'm speaking to Sheila, yes, do you wanna
Go through the
update,
status of the,
if you wanna update the things that you've been doing?
yes, okay, we can do that.
I was gonna put it further down, but since we're on that now, that would be great.
Okay, so of course, the first issue is the Red Sox Disability Pride event,
Mhm.
and we have now purchased.
There is.
And then this is Cheryl speaking. 68 tickets for the
I can
event,
take
I believe
it.
it's May the 12th. I think is the date, but, so what we're working on now is
Chicken wing.
providing of transportation and refreshments. As you know, we voted a total amount of $5,000 for the event. Tickets were $23.80, which leaves $2,620 for the other items. We're working with, I met with the finance director and the assistant auditor, and we talked about the process. We're trying to streamline the process, make sure that we have a lot of this up front, so we don't run into some of the problems we've run into in the past. And so we kicked around some ideas for transportation, and so if anybody has any additional ones, please, shout out. But one of the problems is until we actually advertise the tickets and people are granted the tickets, will we know what transportation needs they have? But we've come up with about 5 items that we think would be could be used if needed, and they are Charlie card passes, rental of a bus or a van, parking, covering people's parking that can drive in themselves, taxi vouchers. There is a program through the Council on Aging for taxi vouchers, and they have an arrangement with the Green Cab. And in a nutshell, it's a little more complicated, but Green Cab, I guess, has been very good to deal with on that. But, they perform the service, they bring you in, they bring you out, they bill the city, and then, well, us, but
We could get, the goal is we would have one, we'd have a list of who was using,
Right.
what our guests would prefer for transportation. I
yes.
think the cab may be the easiest, and then we would set those up.
And there's also the ride share option for reimbursement for your ride share. They did in the audit department express that the taxi voucher seems to work better than the ride share, but it depends on the individual needs. So those are the options, and if anybody comes up with any others, Harriet.
Yeah,
Useful to do that.
I'm not sure, did you mean the MBTA ride?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, there's also, the ride provides a lift passes to people who are enrolled in the ride. And
Oh, they do.
yes, and in the first couple of months, I only got 2. I now get 10 per month. 10 $3 ride passes with Lyft.
So if someone's already in the ride program,
Yeah.
they're able to get that. So, okay, we hesitate on the ride because there's,
No, but
it's a little
they
more
actually-
complicated.
They have, it's only if someone were already enrolled with the ride and already also in the Lyft program, because the Lyft program is so phenomenal because you don't have to give advance notice for that
Right. and that's
for
one of the
that
problems
thing.
with the
Also, the
ride.
person who works with the taxi vouchers is Pauline. That's why she goes to Spalding on a daily basis to see her partner, Ginny, who's been in rehab there for some time.
But she gets the vouchers through the Council on Aging?
Yep,
Okay, good,
Yep.
good to know, because that's what we, Holly, I think you all contacted them, right? So we're gonna follow up and try to set up that same system. But again, there could be other options needed depending on the needs of the people that get the tickets, and we won't know until we're at that point.
yes.
yeah.
But those are the things that we have in mind now, and somebody might come up with another.
I think I was also looking at the ride, approaching the ride as a provider of the transport, and then we reserve like maybe 5 or more rides, which we shall be able to maybe to deploy as per our needs.
So as a van, as a
Yeah, yes,
individual ride.
yeah, that's for van.
So
We
the,
approach them in time, so that maybe we shall need like 5 or 3 accessible vans,
Right,
because ride has those vans, and then they also have like other cars.
right,
Smaller cars, so if we can like approach them in time,
Mhm.
and then have like, maybe they provide us with a fleet of like maybe 3 or 4, and then we shall know that according to our areas of where our residents are living, we can allocate maybe a car in zone, in a given zone, or 2 cars in given zone and 2 cars, and then have like maybe 3 or 4 cars
Are you familiar, is all of Somerville in the same zone as the, Fenway Park? Or do people have to, because
Yeah,
the problems across zones, right?
Yeah, if it's, if like, if you have like maybe 4 or more cars, they will pick up people that will need them in
Oh,
different
well.
areas. And then these will be like our cars, but from MBTA with well-trained drivers that know our people. And then we shall reserve them, like maybe there are 6 cars, and then they will pick people like in given areas, and then we shall be sure that they will be able to take them back.
Okay, I see it, I got it.
So the one thing that we, sorry, we did, hear through finance and through the council on aging, is they did rave about the cab company, but also another acronym, I'm not sure what it was, that does a van
Mhm.
for multiple
Oh,
people. So that might fill that.
SCM,
Okay.
is it SCM that the council on agent uses, Brian, you familiar with that? The van company that they use for council on agent, that are
Oh,
SCM, SCM.
It's always better
Letters.
for us to use something that exists
Right.
process-wise and be able to get a single invoice.
I did
and
talk a little bit
verify.
with the finance director about them, and they are kind of part of it, this council on aging, I believe, uses them, so he didn't know what contract they had, so, but we'll follow up. Because once we know, and of course, we'd already talked last time about possibility of a van rental of a van or bus that wheelchair accessible, so until we know who's going and what their needs are, would it make those decisions then? The refreshments, I think Polly's working with the Red Sox on, we're trying to figure out a way that works for everybody on the refreshments, and the one at the garden last time was a little bit of problematic, so.
Yeah, so the Red Sox is differently flexible, in that, last year, all of our guests got these wonderful Disability Pride event hats. And they had Braille on the
bill of the
bill. Yes, I know you're very happy when you got your hat. But there was an issue with individuals had to go and pick them up, and there was an obscure place, and I was trying to collect as many. So this year, they're gonna deliver 86, 68, dyslexia right there, 68 hats at the game. So everyone will not be reaching out to find hats. And they've already reached out to the food service company that, is it Aramark or that does the food, because we're not sitting in the VIP seats where you have a menu, but they're gonna see if they can make kind of like the box lunch, or we might have 2 options where we can say, would you like the hot dog or the chicken fingers or the bacon? And then we can order those for each people, and we can pay ahead of time. Yeah, so we don't have to be going up. So they're working with creative ways to make sure that we can provide food or snacks and transportation, and it's all about doing it ahead. So.
Have we bought the tickets yet?
The tickets we have,
Okay.
yes,
Can you
nothing
get
else.
me the seat numbers? I presume you have them.
Yeah, so we can buy
Yeah, we should.
we should buy our tickets now.
Actually, these, that was the updated
Yeah,
one,
absolutely.
right? Let me give you, actually take this, because this I have on an email, if you want that, there's the seat numbers.
Yeah, sure. I'll just put it in.
Because Brian and I have to buy our own seats.
Also, if it's helpful, the gentleman who's on that, receipt, I can email him and ask him to get us. Oh, no, I think we had an issue with getting those, but we'll make sure that there are seats.
I just want a
Sure.
hat.
If you don't get a ticket, you can have my hat regardless. Actually, you can have Pauline's hat, because she already has one.
These are different though.
Oh,
It's a different
thanks.
hat. It's a different hat this
It
year.
is, it's a different hat.
It's a different
It's a
hat.
very nice thing. And then also they're working on getting us these, sort of like we had at the Celtics game, these disability lovely people, chaperones that come out and help from the gate in and
Ambassadors.
ambassadors saying that.
They're really great about that at Fenway.
And they're wonderful because
Celtics was
when-
amazing.
when we were able to go to the games before they cost so much, we couldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but last time, the
Uh,
guy,
They were wonderful to us,
yeah,
you know, getting us to and from.
but last time I had a problem with, at Fenway. The guy made me, move all the way around. I almost reached the entrance, but it made me go round and round.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, hopefully this year we'll, with the transportation as part of it, we won't be trying to meet people at 3 different gates at the exact same time.
Also, but we can talk about more of the details, but we do have that time, so we're being very proactive with making sure all of that, and also, back to, another update, Nick. Nick was, participated in our last meeting with Hawken, and we talked about communication. And I know that Frank and Harriet were looking at, our website as far as a tool for communication and the accessibility of that. And Nick was working, as far as being the editor and drafting the documents, and that piece. I don't know if you want to add any other information, Nick, or,
No, I mean, essentially the goal is to clean it up so that links work and that non-essential information is gone and essential information for people that need resources is placed prominently and everything is concise and clear, just so the site itself is easier to use and has more useful information featured prominently.
Hooray!
and Nick's also drafting, the simple invitation or about the event.
Yeah, I just copied the format that's there now, so hopefully it works.
All for plagiarism.
Yeah.
Sort of copying, yes.
So we've talked
It's
about
not-
bribery.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
come on, it's a pen. and an orange. Yes, Harry.
Just one last addition, it occurred to me, I and Frank and I guess the 2 of us primarily, but you two probably, Holly, we've been communicating, or we did, back in August with, Daniel Moore, who is the,
Yes.
web administrator.
Web content, director, administrators.
He's a lovely person. He's been here since
Say it
the
a little
web
louder,
created.
sorry, but it's the
Yeah.
web
Did a really good
content.
job.
Sense, oh, I forget his exact position, but it's something like web content administrator or director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the difficulty is, once you build a website, it's excruciating to actually make it accessible. And so there's no easy fixes, and but he definitely wrote a very thoughtful letter, email to me and us about some progress that has been made, and there is a working group that's going to get together to work on this further. And I wrote back appreciating that and also said, at some point, I think it would be more than useful, and I didn't say that. I think it would be very helpful and it would be proof for those who are working so hard to make our site accessible for all, to have beta testers or people who are experts in the ways they need to be communicated with. So I put that out there and we'll see what happens, because again, whether it's Apple or Word, yeah, I mean, Microsoft, if we don't have enough beta testers who use the material, use the vehicle, then doesn't work so well. So let's see if we can be a shining example in Somerville. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's very nice.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna move on to my favorite topic. It is my favorite topic.
Well,
Why
it's
are
a
you laughing
special,
at me?
no, it's a wonderful topic. It is.
I didn't even say the topic.
I actually don't know what this is.
Disability Pride month of July. I'd like to thank Adrian in the mayor's office, and I really mean that truly, for coming up with the opportunity for us to do a whole month. 30 days, has September, 31 days in July, of celebratory events, and isn't it 30 days after $10 million?
Yeah, 31 days.
31 days, thank you. And one of the first items, was a flag raising, which I think is a lovely, opportunity for us along with the mayor and other leaders and members of the commission to celebrate and honor, the month of July. I know, Adrian, you were looking at a couple of flags. I don't know if those were ordered or if they're in process. But I know that we wanted to get, that started where it's March and them before July. Another thing that we want to get some more feedback, doesn't have to be this meeting, but we definitely need to get some more feedback of other events that as a commission, people would like to see happen. And we have talked in the past about events at the library with, that are educational. We talked about having books for children, for adults, for students that celebrate the diversity and inclusion and stories written by people with disabilities or about people with disabilities, and have events around those books. And possibly we buy books for some of these different events and we give them out to whoever's coming to an event during that month, whatever type of a thing that we decide we'd like to host. It came to me, what about the 4th of July parade? We still have the 4th of July parade in the city?
No.
Memorial
No.
Day, Labor Day.
Used to be Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
We do fireworks.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm not sure.
Harriet, you can participate
They
in the
started
hall.
doing a little more at Veterans Day.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the parade doesn't work, but we could have something outdoors, we could have something on a weekend, we could have something.
So there is, I mean, the city does do the fireworks on the Thursday before the 4th of July.
Which will be like the 30th or something.
Yeah, it might be a full week before. It's the
Yeah.
4th of the 4th of July is a Thursday this year, isn't it?
Yes, and we
Okay.
don't do our celebration on July 4th because I think Boston gets
Oh, yeah,
that,
we can't.
gets that privilege.
So there's gonna be some back and forth, I'm gonna send out to the members, blind copy, please give us some ideas. We'll make sure that, Adrian and myself and others are working on collaborating, figuring out what's possible. And hopefully in, April, we'll be able to share some more updates.
Yeah,
Would you like to add to this
I
conversation? please?
would.
Thank you.
So we're not gonna do an event every single day for 31 days because nobody has that kind of capacity. So July 26th will be the 34th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Mike, I do see your hand, and I will get to you in a second. So the city, as far as I know, has never done anything around ADA Day. Boston does a huge ADA Day celebration they do it now on their brand new City Hall Plaza, which supposedly is fully accessible. I've never been, mostly because it's always been really hot on the day they do it. I don't want to go downtown. That is something as a commission, you could certainly reach out to the city of Boston and their commission to see if you could have a table or organize in some way. I think they would welcome that. So I will leave that to Holly to carry on that conversation. There was an author event. Laura Beretsky is a local author in Somerville, and she hosted an event in February in a panel of which Holly and Harriet were a part. And she would like to do a follow-up event in July at the West Branch Library. And they want to do the event on a Monday or Wednesday night. So there are several dates open for that.
And I would love someone who would like to take my spot and be part of that moderation.
Yeah,
And participate, and we could have two. Persons from our commission who'd like to be part of that panel and share and
Yeah.
answer questions. It should be
so,
someone, I think it should
Yeah.
be someone different.
so that's something you definitely talk about. I think she's looking to settle on a date soon so she can let the library know. So that's one thing that can be done. The second thing that can be done is, RSJ can purchase a disability pride flag and we can arrange to have it raised on the City Hall concourse and fly through the month of July. It is generally better to do flag raisings at the beginning of the month, and that way the flag goes up and can be there for the majority of the month. Obviously, we will run into, we'll have to do it after July 4th, because we will have the pride flag that will be up through the end of June, so we can't compete with that. So thinking about day there, and you can really turn flag raisings into pretty high quality, even though they're pretty short events. So you could have a guest speaker, Holly could speak, you could invite the mayor to speak. And invite folks to sort of gather. Yeah, I see Mike's hand. And do that. So again, something to talk about in May or in April and potentially select a date so we can get the mayor on board and get the flag ordered and things like that.
Mike, would you
Mike,
like to join the conversation?
So, what, I wanted, well, two questions. What was that, panel that you, might be looking for somebody? What was that?
So there's, this resident, wrote a book, a personal memoir of how she struggled with, discrimination in employment because of her epilepsy. And, she asked us to participate. It was Harriet and I. We shared stories about how we've experienced discrimination in employment and other things. And there was a group of, she read part of her book. She signed books and sold books, and we answered questions. People asked questions. You came and talked for a while with us, which was wonderful. And so it's going to be similar to that. I don't know if it's going to be a different location.
no, West Branch
So
Library.
it's the same
Yeah.
branch, yes.
Which is where?
In Davis,
Davis.
on
Oh, okay.
College Avenue.
Okay,
It's a
I-
smaller
I would-
library.
I would definitely be interested if in doing that, so here's, so Somerville does the summer movie fest in July. And I would love to see about maybe doing Inside Out, to kind of promote the whole idea of disabilities, and even have maybe a speaker just quickly beforehand, just say a few words. Is that something, like, do I run this, do I need to get permission to sit, that maybe we can take a day or something? And I'm happy to be in charge of that, whatever, so.
Oh, you said my favorite thing. I'm happy to be in charge. I did. I am happy to support you in any way you would like. I'll give you.
Okay.
I think
So-
that's Parks and Rec.
But yes, we will definitely follow up with that idea. I think that's fabulous.
I had an idea, and I don't know how this would float, but there is a theater group in Acton, I believe, who, they have, they're doing, theater, live theater, accessible theater with folks who are disabled and non-disabled. And maybe we could have someone from that group come and share their, expertise with us.
Ooh,
And all of these ideas, which I'm hoping people are gonna give us more, they don't have to be in July. They can be done, they can be part of what we're gonna work towards regardless.
Yeah.
So we don't have to say, oh, we can only do 2 and that ends it.
Yeah.
We can say, these are the 2 we can do, or 3 during that month. But we should still look at other ideas like yours and any others to make sure we can move those through. But I love that idea. Love that very much.
Now, that's been on the TV news in the morning, early in the morning. And they've shown, clips of the drama group that the theater group. And, it's called Open Door, that's what it is.
Oh, I've heard of that. Heard of that. Adrian, can you cue up the picture of Marshall Street Park.
I don't have a picture of Marshall Street Park. I don't have that picture though.
I'm gonna find it. Okay, so
I'm sorry.
imagine a park. And it's on Marshall Street and it has had 5 swings. And you're imagining, I love that, Brian, thank you. And
I know exactly where you're talking.
yes,
Yeah.
and with the help of Adrian and with the help of Ben Waldron.
Mhm.
And also, we have to thank,
Nicole,
Nicole, yes, but,
did you let her
Jill.
know?
yeah, I sent her a picture. Jill, Lathan, who just made it happen. And all the research that you did about all the different swings and the funding that we had. So we had a meeting, 2 days later, we walked over to, Marshall Street Park, and the following day, a swing was hung. A
So,
swing.
so to give Brian a little bit more context, because this is such magic for city
This
government.
actually does sound like
Very tough.
magic.
Yeah.
Very tough.
So
Magic.
DPW, Ben happened to have a couple of, what do they call them?
Spares.
Spare
Spare
accessible
swings.
swings
Yeah.
that did not have homes. So a spot was identified and within, I was even surprised, like within the week, he put it up. 3 days. It's a
We had a
miracle.
meeting,
for
the
city
following day, he
government.
met me at the park.
And they put it up.
And the next day, I drove by and I literally screeched. I probably parked in a bike lane.
Yeah.
I probably walked a bike lane, walked across the street without looking and walked over and saw the blue swing and took pictures. You think I'm joking, you know I'm completely serious.
No, I
So
believe
we're
you.
gonna find that picture, and that little girl Carly, who lives on that same street, has, the point where she can't use the baby seats anymore, and now when she comes home from Florida, she's gonna have a swing. And we're gonna move forward, there's sort of 3 paths along the swing process, one is, there's, a list of identifying other.
There's
park-
apparently a magic path that you somehow created, but
It's funny.
Magic path.
the mat to get it up in 3 days.
Yeah.
A magic path to the people. Okay, got it.
Too bad they can't do it with the
So,
street.
no, come on, we're getting there. We're gonna celebrate. Come on, let's do the victory, a swing. So, we're working on a list so we can see all of the other parks that we can simply swap out an existing swing for an accessible swing, which any child can use. And, then we'll be looking at how do we integrate accessible play or add additional accessible swings in the design of new parks. And then the big Whopper swing is the one that's sort of a large platform that you roll onto in your chair. You lock in place, it has some safety, I don't remember, it must have some automated. And you literally swing in your chair on a platform.
Yeah.
That one will require a bit of engineering. It will be significantly
Magic.
more, project work than swapping out the hooks.
Yeah.
But we're gonna figure out,
Figure out a way to do it.
we're gonna have a 3-lane road with the hang a new one. Where should we add to the existing ones in new parks? And then how many big Whopper swings can we put out there that meet the needs? So,
And you have 2 days, Brian.
you know, no. Nope, we're gonna figure it all out. And
I think Perkins has a couple of those.
they do,
Do they?
they
Yeah.
do. They have some amazing things. Okay, so I had this little moment where I thought that maybe part of the ADA celebration or disability pride would be that we hung a swing in every park.
Yeah.
There's only like 12 maybe, you know, like it's not gonna be 50 swings, like, but if we could say and celebrate the fact that as a municipality, between now and the end of May, where this is where we're at, we're able to share the fact as a city from the mayor, I think it should absolutely come from her, that says we are hanging accessible swings in all the parks. This is our plan, this is how many we've had, like, how cool would that be? Adrian, you're smiling, but you have that sideways eye. What's the matter? You have no poker face,
I don't.
and that's
I
okay. It's a goal.
It is,
I will say what Adrian's probably thinking, one in every park might be unrealistic. I think you should aim for that,
always.
but if you get one in every ward,
Oh, they have
that
to be across the
alone,
board.
that
yeah.
alone would be.
That is more
a big-
equitable.
Oh, no, they have to be spread out. That is,
So there's the
prefer-
goal, 7 wards, that is feasible.
Okay.
But you see, this is Harry.
And you already did one, you can count Marshall.
I was like, yes.
Right,
What's-
so
what-
Ward.
What ward is that? What
Ward
ward?
4.
It's in
It's
Ward
my
4, I
ward.
It's
was-
your ward, okay.
My ward. So along those lines of
Can I
access,
interrupt? I think we should have a round of applause for our chair and for the DPW. You did a great job.
no, it's Carly's swing. Carly's mom and Carly and RSJ and
I like
engineering.
one in every ward,
I know.
As a
One in
start.
everyone.
as
Yeah,
a
and
start.
I think.
And that's only 6 more, because you already did.
How old is that little one now?
3.
Oh,
Yes, Harry.
Okay, so here's my thing. We can have a vision as big as we like. How quickly or how well or whatever we can execute is another matter. But
Absolutely.
having a vision that there are swings in every park is certainly, as a person who's been disabled since she was 14, that is something I think we as a commission can certainly hold, regardless of what is quote feasible or immediately executable. There is nothing wrong with a bigger vision, because there may be less, there may be more possibilities than we're aware of. We didn't know we would get one up this past month. That's all I have to say.
Nobody is squashing a vision.
Okay, good, then
No.
hold on.
I
Just
think
hold on.
to Sheila's point, one in every ward is a good start. And is something that could be feasibly done by the end of July.
Woo-hoo, we'll do it, we'll do it.
And it's okay to talk about it in July that we've done X and this is our plan to roll out more.
Exactly.
It's a goal.
Do we
Yeah.
know how many parks do have them?
No, we're gonna get that inventory where sort of like.
In
Is
what
Dan putting
areas?
together that inventory?
Yes.
Ben's working on just a list of the
Yeah.
parks.
Okay.
Do you have that
through the-
information?
I
or-
don't,
Yeah.
I was seeing who was doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Holly, excuse me, through the chair, Ingrid has her hand up.
Ingrid,
Hi, we were talking about the swings, which is very exciting. And you were saying that so I just have a question. Does the park, do the swings have to already have something they can hook onto? Like, does there already have to be an existing swing set there?
so that was the quick solution for now was to take existing parks with existing swings that are hung on the big eye
Right,
hook. And
Yes.
and drop them in. So that was like, how quickly can we solve this issue?
Right. because you were also
Changing
saying that technically the parks in Somerville count as almost like traffic circles and sort of weird. little
Oh,
small
yeah.
points.
So Paul Revere Park, top of Broadway, it's sort
Yeah.
of a trail, it's smaller than this table. It does not have room for a swing, it may have a bench, it is not accessible, it is on the ADA transition plan as an inaccessible park.
That is true.
Okay,
It will
I'm
remain.
just wondering about somewhere really, really public that we could put one where people could see it from their cars or people walked by it all the time. So people could see it or engage with it or even just be like, what's that? And get
Like when I
educated
saw the
and
blue
get
swing,
and play. I don't know. I'm just trying to think where's yes, in every ward, of course, but also can one be a functional art piece in a way that's accessible to just
great segue.
curiosity, I don't know, and
As
conversation.
if I promised you a pen, thank you for the segue. So as the chair with 11 amazing people, as well as RSG staff and everyone who comes to public meetings, we have 12 sets of hands now, and we have been working on projects. So, Helen and I looked at the minutes and we were trying to go through which ones are approved, which are there, which ones can we bring forth. You and I talked about our ice cream trip earlier in the week.
Yeah.
That's a longer story, but we looked at accessibility and being able to order, eat, sit, and get in and out of JP Licks. And that was a really interesting idea. And Ingrid, you and I sat and talked about different things that have to do with kids and parks and education and libraries. And Mike, you and I chatted about the category of kids and how that's very broad because to different people in our group, the needs of children or the things that we could add to or understand or provide or educate for kids is different. And so I've been gathering notes and putting names in boxes because again, we cannot talk about something as a body of 6, but I also think we shouldn't have 6 people working on swings, maybe 3 would be better. So I've been moving people, reaching out and getting feedback. And so we're gonna have a couple of people gonna help with swings. We're gonna have a couple of people who help with communication. We're gonna have a couple of people who wanna go taste ice cream everywhere. And so we're gonna have a way to sort of,
What's this ice cream deal?
oh, we'll talk about
It's
that.
about accessibility.
It's also 2 minutes to 9 or 1 minute to 9, so we have to decide, do we have, this is Harriet. Can we decide that if we're gonna talk about projects, can we go over or are we stopping?
They do have to close the building up, so we do have to adjourn.
Let's be quiet.
No, he's already here. He's been here since.
Okay, so, I just want to thank everyone who's made some time to chat with me and I will send out some emails so you can have some more feedback and, I haven't spoken with each of you, but I will. And, the last and final thing is, how do we do a potluck?
Oh, wow.
Do we do it before the meeting? Do we do it separately? We can talk about it later, but I mean, this amazing person had this idea that, boy, wouldn't it be nice to get to meet each other in more of a social setting?
That would
Food
be
is
great.
lovely and,
Yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow when we check in.
And I had an idea too. How about something to do with music?
oh, I like that. What else? I like the murals
Yeah.
that are around the city.
Yeah, but music.
Music, okay. All right, last chance, anybody? Anybody?
With what?
Deborah? Anyone?
I just thought it would be nice based on the presentation we had from Unpaved Trailways today to vote on actually becoming a supporter as a commission.
Okay, I believe that was a motion.
I second it.
Oh, we have multiple seconds. Okay, all those in favor of supporting accessible trail, unpaved trails for all advocacy opportunity. What we're actually voting to do is to say we as a commission support the work.
Of the advocacy.
And we support, we sign on. I have 2 bill numbers. Do you have the list? Here we go. Supporting organizations and municipalities that we will be included on the list as a supporting organization or municipality. And also what that does is it gives people a link to the various commissions' web pages where they can find us also. Brian, are we above board?
I think the only thing we need is somebody to write the letter.
Anyone have a pen besides me? Okay, I will get the letter out, we have to do a roll call vote. We definitely have seconds and thirds.
Ingrid moved it. Who seconded?
3 people on the screen, I think.
Mike was.
Mike seconded.
Okay, I'll take Mike's second.
Actually, it was.
It was-
Deborah.
Deborah.
Oh, Deborah did. That's right. My apologies.
She made the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're gonna vote on that. Harriet,
Yes,
Brian,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Pauline.
Yes.
Nick,
Nick left.
Mike,
Yes.
Ellen. Can't hear you, Helen. Are you in favor of the letter? You can give me a thumbs up.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Sheila,
Yes.
Ingrid,
Yes.
Eve,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, so that motion passes. We will draft a lovely letter. We will make sure everyone gets a copy of it. And unless there's anything else, I'm gonna motion to adjourn.
I seconded.
Second.
Second all night, great. All those in favor, we're just gonna say aye. Okay, motion passes. We are adjourned.
Bye.